the biting cold wind rustled the skeletal trees, the shrill cries of a solitary child echoed endlessly through the unnerving silence of the Kmart aisles. Because what if the last face you see before the light fades isn't a stranger's, but a fiend cloaked with the familiarity of trust? In the shadow of the towering Cascade Mountains, the sleepy town of Spanaway, Washington knew distress at its core on that fateful Thursday, December 12th, 1985. The humdrum serenity of a local Kmart shattered when a wide-eyed child, Crystal, aimlessly wandered amongst the shoppers, her fragile voice trembling as she uttered, "Mommy is in the trees." But even the spent and grizzled authorities couldn't grasp the spine-tingling gravity these words cloaked. As her photograph graced the front page of the local newspaper's morning edition, Crystal's maternal grandmother, Louise Conrad, recognized her immediately, her heart sinking with a devastating certainty. The world seemed to shatter around Louise as she rushed to embrace Crystal, holding the child close, only to be met with a chilling, unnatural silence. Crystal's once bright eyes, now hollow and distant, spoke of horrors too profound for words, her innocence marred in ways that no comfort could immediately repair. Whatever unspeakable nightmare the child had witnessed, it had etched itself deeply into her soul, leaving scars that would linger far beyond that moment. For Louise, the heartbreak wasn't just in finding her granddaughter, but in realizing that the little girl she once knew might never truly return. But where was Crystal's mother? That lingering, haunting question would soon unravel a nightmare, one encased in flesh and bone. For nearly 2 agonizing months, the search continued, each day marked by the cold grip of uncertainty as hope dwindled with the passing time. Then the forest around Elbe, Washington, finally surrendered its grim secret. Deep within its secluded heart, the desecrated body of Diana Robertson was found, her lifeless form a testament to unspeakable violence. 17 brutal stab wounds marred her body, and around her neck, like a sinister calling card, a tube sock was cruelly knotted, a chilling echo of the same malevolent force that had claimed others before her. The forest had once again swallowed innocence, leaving behind only horror in its wake. As the chill-shrouded forest whispered its secrets, nearby an old Plymouth pickup stood solemnly, a silent witness to the blood-soaked tragedy that had unfolded. Its presence alone added a haunting weight to the scene, but it was the note on the dashboard that truly deepened the mystery. "I love you, Diana," scrawled with an impassioned hand, seemed both a tender declaration and a tormenting clue, casting an even darker shadow over the unfolding events. The truck belonged to Mike Reamer, outdoorsman, trapper, and a man inextricably linked to these deadly woods. His deep familiarity with the wilderness, once a symbol of self-reliance, now felt like an ominous connection to the violence that had plagued this isolated landscape. The presence of his vehicle near the crime scene only heightened the chilling obscurity, leaving more questions than answers as the investigation struggled to untangle the web of horror that surrounded Diana's death. Suspicion hung over Mike like a specter perpetually whispering treachery in one's ears. Could he have transformed into a monster hiding behind bucolic fidelity? Only 2 months prior, Mike's fury erupted into domestic violence, staining their love story with menace and dread. The police perceived him as potentially responsible for Diana's tragic end. Yet the mysteries that bled into these very woods told an even more tangled tale. 4 months prior to Diana's macabre discovery, the same wooded expanse had already been tainted by the horror of a gruesome double murder. Stephen Harkins had been found inside his sleeping bag, his body grotesquely contorted, with a single bullet marking his brutal execution. The scene painted a chilling picture of violence, but the terror did not end there. His partner, Ruth Cooper, went missing for months, sparking a harrowing search that ultimately led to an even more disturbing discovery. Her body, long decayed by time, was found strangled, bearing a ghastly hallmark, a tube sock cruelly wound around her throat, the unmistakable signature of the same unknown predator. The forest, once a place of peace and seclusion, had become the stage for a nightmare, its dark shadows hiding the secrets of unspeakable brutality. Was Mike Reamer the twisted, despicable artist behind this grim tapestry of slaughter, weaving death and horror into the lives of those who crossed his path? The chilling coincidence was both undeniable and inescapable. He was not just present in the woods at the exact times Harkins and Cooper met their unholy, violent ends. He was deeply familiar with them, a figure whose survivalist skills made him a ghost, slipping unnoticed through the dense shadows of the forest. His knowledge of the wilds, his ability to disappear into the underbrush, made him more than just a man in the wrong place at the wrong time. It cast him as a predator, lurking in the very heart of the wilderness, his presence invisible yet all-encompassing. The sense that he could evade detection so easily, so completely, only added to the growing suspicion that he was, indeed, the sinister force orchestrating this grim series of events. Should disbelief anchor one to the rational? Over 20 years later, a hiker stumbled across scattered bones within the same sinister territory off of State Route 7 near Mineral, Washington. When the truth bore its skeletal grin, the identity of the remains was confirmed. Mike Reamer. He too had tangled with that hidden evil lurking in the forest, meeting a dark fate no different from Diana's. The enigma sprawled across those ancient forests left no survivor to testify, no witness but a fragmentary memory traumatized into the young Crystal. But how had she come to roam Kmart's aisles, over 30 treacherous miles from the deathly scene? Forced into a 45-minute drive through the winding rural isolation by the very entity who had savaged her family, this realization clutched at the soul with a bone-chilling horror. The forests around Elbe conceal somewhere within their leafy embrace the visage of a great killer. The same pathless wilderness that preserved the pleas of the dead and the shivering cries of a lone, forsaken child. As the wind whispers through those dense groves, whispers of a story bereft of complete answers. It's a tragic waltz in a dance of death, endlessly replaying for the lives lost and the mysteries unsolved. And for those caught beneath the spell of these forests, may they never forget that sometimes the nearest semblance of safety can mask the foulest predator. Even decades later, the forests breathe the essence of unsettled spirits through every crunching leaf and creaking bough. And each who returns to visit the trees, may they too hear the faint echo of Crystal's chilling warning. Mommy is in the trees. Perhaps above all, may this haunting story remind us that the most harrowing horrors seldom roam unknown. They reside just steps away, hidden beneath the foliage, where even the silence screams.